Hi, this is a tutorial for the Spec Ford Racer at Summit Point Raceway in iRacing. If you don't have a setup for the new tyre model yet, I'd recommend having a look at the one in the link below the video, which is what I'm using for these laps. For turn 1, I'm on the brakes at the 3 marker. You can be pretty much full on the brakes initially, and then you might need to ease off a bit as you get towards the corner. Watch out on the left side as the track does narrow a little bit and the grass comes in to meet you, so just be careful not to get a wheel off there. This is where I start to trail off the brakes and turn in for the first corner. Try not to turn in too quickly. You don't want to head straight for the apex, but rather follow the concrete. That's a fairly good line for this corner, just inside the concrete. I take turn 1 in 3rd gear. So I've made it into my apex here, and this is where I start picking up the gas. Depending on your setup, you probably won't be able to get full on the gas here. I find you usually get a bit too much understeer for that. But if you've got a good line and a nice neutral setup, then you may get to the stage where you can. This is my turn-in point for turn 3. I've approached this corner in 4th, and I'll leave the car in 4th through this one. I stab the brakes just before the video is paused here to help load up the front end as I turn the car in. Don't forget, when you do use the brakes, make sure you give a good hit on the brakes. As you'll see, I use nearly full brakes very briefly before coming to this one, otherwise it really doesn't do a whole lot. Once you get your line figured out for turn 3, you should be able to just clip the curb and be full throttle from the apex on. On the exit, you can use all of the curb. It's really flat and smooth and has good grip. This right-hander can be taken flat, but depending on your line and how your tyres are doing, I just find it easier to lift to help get the front end tucked in. And then I also end up with a better line into braking for the tight left-hander that's approaching. If you're ever trying to explain lift-off oversteer to somebody who's new to iRacing, take them to this track and just let them do a couple of laps, because I don't know about you, but I've spun here many times lifting off as I'm still steering to the right. So I try and keep some gas on and only get off the gas and onto the brakes once I've got the wheel straightened up and I'm pointing where I want to be braking into this left-hander. Just make one shift down to 3rd gear for this corner. You might want to try it in 2nd, but I find again that you run out of revs too quickly on the exit. My main focus here is actually getting into an apex, because it's really easy to overshoot this corner, and then also trying to stay tight to the left on the exit. I don't want to swing all the way out to the right. I want to be over to the left, so I'm set up for the next right-hander. So having stayed left a bit on the exit from the previous corner has allowed me to be all the way over to the left on the entry to this one. This is where I turn in. I usually give a good stab of the brakes here to get the front loaded up, and then as I turn in, I don't really use much gas or brake here. I find this car often responds, the front end works best when you're not really using any brake on the way in, and it just seems to hook up a little better sometimes. So I've made it into my apex, and I'm starting to get back on the gas here now. I find I can't get fully on the throttle at this point. I'm usually modulating it for a little while on the exit to avoid too much understeer. I try and avoid the curb, but try and stay tucked in as close to it as I can. This next section certainly takes a bit of time to figure out to get the flow. So I'm still in 3rd gear here, and just around this next corner I'm going to hook 4th. And then it's all about modulating the throttle to maintain the line that you need through this section. If you use too much throttle, you're going to get late, go wide, of course. So just lift off the throttle as you need to get the front end to hook up to stay on the line that you need. So just modulate the throttle through there a bit, and again in this right-hander, just to keep the front end from washing wide. For the last turn, you don't need much brake, just a tap on the brakes again. Make sure you're all the way over to the left here on the entry, because you really need the room to get a good line into the apex and get a good exit. So this is about where I start to pick up the gas again. You definitely don't want to be fully off it here, because you can end up with the back end rotating a bit too much. And then we're on the gas all the way to the exit. Okay, so I'm just going to walk you through another lap here without any pauses. So I hooked 5th gear and looking for the 3 marker, down to 4th, 3rd, and then spot my turn in. Again, modulating the throttle there for a second until the front bites. Up to 4th. Again, you can see into that one I tapped the brakes very briefly, not really to slow down, more just to get the car turned in. And again, just modulating it through there. I catch the curve there, that's okay. I've run a little wider than I'd like, but as long as you make it over to the left for the entry to this one, you're okay. And again, I'm modulating the throttle quite a bit through here. Again, depending on your setup, you might be able to go flat through there, but this setup's, leaning towards the understeer a bit more. And you can use as much of that asphalt on the exit as you need. And that's another lap at Summit Point Raceway. I'll be doing more of these videos for the other tracks in this series, so subscribe so you can keep an eye out for those. And please leave comments to let me know what you liked and didn't like to help with the future videos. Thanks, and see you again soon.